Hey guys, this is Tom Bucks, and welcome to the Ultimate Counter Guide, where we cover some of your favorite matchups or the most popular matchups and throw them against some of the hard counter cards against them. But we want to find the best point of interaction. We're going to be covering hand traps, going first and going second cards. Now, this is a three-part video, so part 1 is on this channel, part 2 is on our guest channel, and part 3 will come back here. And part 2 is already uploaded, so it's down in the description, and it's going to be on our special guest channel. And our special guest this time around is the legendary and the infamous YCS level topping Squiddy. So let's get to it. Hey guys, this is Tom Bucks, and today I got a special treat for you guys as well as a special guest. Of course, this is the Ultimate Counter Guide, and I have here with me the legendary, the infamous Squiddy.
Hello.
So Squiddy, I've known you for a very, very long time, and I can't believe this is like the first time I've actually had you. Well, this is not technically the first time I had you on the channel, but first time for you to join in on the Ultimate Counter Guide.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for having me on here, Tom.
No, anytime. So today, across the top, you guys know the drill here. Across the top, we have 5 of the most popular matchups. If you know your matchups against those particular decks, you'll probably have a pretty good time at events. And we're going to be covering hand traps today and the interaction points of these hand traps. And I'm going to be happy to pick at your brain. You participated in recent YCSs as well, from what I recall.
Yep, so the 3v3, and then I was in YCS Leon just playing some side events, but it was fun. There was hand traps flying around in both of them, so...
You know what? There's a couple of hand traps that I actually don't know the details of, and I'd be more than happy to get that information out of you, sharing the spice, how they interact, because I know a lot of people, they don't actually interact at the correct points, and they usually get pretty punished for it, and we're just here to share the goo with you guys. So make sure you guys hit that like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, but also head over to Squiddy's channel. Yeah, you do have a channel, and I've been watching your shorts. Head over to Squiddy's channel. He's sharing his, his deck profiles. He's sharing, his experiences with cards coming up. There's a lot of information there, and you are a top tier level player, and one of the players I definitely respect, and one of the ones I can finally find locally.
Right?
Yeah. So okay, without further ado. Well, I guess let's begin. So we're going to go column to column. Across the top, we have Kashtira which is branded Despia or any variant of branded, Labyrinth, Runic Naturia, and Sprite. And for the hand traps that we're going to be covering here, this is like a total of, 30 interactions here. We have Ash Blossoms, Imperm / Veiler / I believe it's the Ghost Girl. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. We have Gamma, we have Drone Lockbird, Lancey, and Ghost Bell. Yes, I would have included D-Shifter, so I'm just going to throw that right now. D-Shifter, if their matchup is either Naturia or Runic, or if they're playing decks that require the graveyard, just throw a D-Shifter and you'll pretty much have a pretty good time.
Yeah.
So let's
auto win button.
Yeah, it's a bit of an auto win button, a bit of a quick turn skip. So let's start with Kashtira. And Ash Blossom is basically shoved into everyone's deck. So where does the Ash Blossom stand when it comes to the Kashtira? Like, where would you interact? Is it good? Is it bad? And where would you hit it?
I want to say it's decently good. Like, it's pretty impactful. I know a lot of people say it's not that good, but I mean, if you're using it at the right moment, so if they start off their turn with like a pot for 6, I'd probably Ash that. Or if they play Theosis, probably wait for Theosis. A lot of times it can actually hurt them.
Are you not worried about if you're activating it against Theosis, are you not worried about, say, they already have a unicorn on board? So of course, pot for 6.
Yeah, they could banish something, but I think it's a good trade-off. Like, a lot of times they might just not have the follow-up, or even if they do, they might not just have the right name. They might not have Fenrir or something. So I think it's like one of the only best moments to do that. And obviously, if they start off their turn with pot for 6, chances are they probably, they might not have engine, and then you could just have them skip their turn on the spot.
Yeah, it's surprisingly more impactful than it seems, but I know it's scary because when you use like Ash, you're just really praying that there is no follow-up, and when they have it, it's like, oh, this is gonna it could backfire in the sense that, hey, they get to look at your extra deck, they get to rip a card out, and if you only have 2 copies of something that really rely on, you could lose out entire interaction line just based off of that. Imperm versus Kashtira. Well, okay, this one is, I'm gonna take a wild guess here. It's a pretty good card, whether you're going first or second. But if you're going second, of course, you can hit the Rise Heart and force out the Forbidden Lances out. But what about like going first and stuff like that? Where's the interaction point for those ones?
Yeah, it could be definitely between impactful or a good follow-up. It's a little dicey sometimes when you hit like a unicorn or a Fenrir, because like 9 times out of 10 they'll probably have the follow-up just because every card's at 3. But I think, like you said, if you've been holding it for A-Rise Heart, if you have like a graveyard-based deck that you really need to turn off A-Rise Heart, or even using it on something like Diabolos so you don't get like half your deck banished.
Oh yeah, that's very much.
So using it at the right moment, I guess.
All right. Yeah, Diablosis, I think it matters a lot. I think it's very underrated because it's a bit of an RNG, like, oh, do they hit the cards of like the important cards out of my deck, or if they completely missed out. But if you don't want to take that gamble, then Diablosis is very important to kind of stop as well. So the one card that I am actually not that familiar with in terms of this match, because it hasn't been used against me personally, is Gamma. Gamma versus Kashtira.
Yeah, I really like Gamma because it's a card that negates and destroys. So generally, I think it's probably the best to use it on the first interaction. So whether that's like Fenrir or Unicorn, just use the Gamma on it. I think most they might have a follow-up. They might have Hard Draw on Birth or something, but you still negated the effect. And it's once per turn, right? So it's not like they're going to be able to use it again, even if they do resurrect whatever you destroy. But there are also other times it could be a blowout if they only have like one engine card and 4 non-engine, so they go like Fenrir or Unicorn and you negate and destroy it and they pass turn, right? So I think it's really good. Also, it's very good on A-Rise Heart as well because A-Rise Heart's mandatory.
Oh yeah.
So if you bait that out, if you play like a Pot of Prosperity and you add Gamma, new chain, A-Rise Heart triggers, and then you chain Gamma.
Very good. Man, we're just murdering Cash right now. I mean, Cash is the deck to beat. I mean, Cash has defined the entire format. For the most part. I mean, the way that we play our hand traps right now is completely because of Kashtira existing. Because if you let Kashtira go unhindered, we know that we're looking at 5-zone lock. Like, there's no way you get a chance to play. So these are all like checks and balances that the format has kind of led into. Next, Drow and Lockbird. I would say Drow and Lockbird is actually pretty good. There's a lot of searching in that deck. They can play around it, but in general, I would say it's actually pretty good. If they don't know how to start properly, or if they start off with the field spell, it really cuts off a lot of lines. Terraforming is obviously the easiest one to stop, but even if they go for a Pot of Prosperity play, you cut off every single monster. I dare say it's almost like a blowout card in general, because it does have more chances of stopping them in their tracks than not. And there's just way too many points of where you can actually drop the Droll.
Yeah, if they start off with like a field spell or something, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Guys, play around Drow if you can.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people just tend to start off with the Unicorn and get the Theosis straight to hand first before they even play the field spell. And it's actually a pretty good line, because holding the Prosperity means you can save it for a Rise Heart to attach the right card. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've even seen hands where you have Terraforming in the field spell, and it's like, okay, I should probably play the field spell to add a monster, so I have it to draw. By Terraforming here, I'm like gonna lose to draw, right? Even though it's the obvious play, but
you can't do it. You gotta play around stuff, because the format has matured to that point. Next, Artifact Lancia. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think this one's it can be like impactful or a blowout. It depends. I had a buddy, my friend Anthony Eckroth, did like a test hands. He did like 100. Shout out to him. And he said that it stopped a Rise Heart about 33% of the time. So like 1 in 3 times it stops him from making a Rise Heart, but then the other times it doesn't. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, it's
I'll switch this one up for a conditional check, because it is good. I think there's like other ways for it to be used aside from like just the Kashtira matchup. Like if I was playing Labyrinth, I'd probably put it in, because I don't want to lose to like evenly match blowing out my traps, or if I'm playing a trap based deck, there's that consideration, especially against the Kashtira matchup when they are going first. Then it's something that I would maybe like if I'm going first, I'll probably side it in just a counter side. But aside from that, against Kashtira, stopping, I mean, the key line to stop is that you can stop the regular Rise Heart from banishing a card to change its level, so that cuts off one level 7 monster. The Fenrirs, the Unicorns, they all can't, they all get turned off as well. It's pretty good. It's good enough, but I think this one you need to pair with something else. You need to have a really strong follow-up that just blows them out, because they're not developing their board as much as they should. And
it's nice and stuffed evenly as well. So
and then there's
thing to note, going first.
Yep. And then there is Ghost Spell. I'm going to say this one's kind of mediocre. It only really stops birth of all cards. There's no real graveyard revival, so yeah, you don't need to use it. This is for other matchups.
Airclaw, I think that's about it.
All right, now that we kind of get the drill here, next line of cards we got to use these cards for branded. Ash versus branded. What are your thoughts?
Let me think. Bad? No.
No, it's a
blowout.
It's a blowout.
10 billion.
I hope you have some way to perform infusion if you get hit by this. You know, that's all we can say. Next card, Imperm Availer. Okay, this one I want to pick your brain.
I think it's quite, I want to say impactful, but sometimes it's not impactful. For example, if they have like branded lost and you just can't use it. So I want to say, I think it's good.
What would you hit?
Probably a Luber. Because, like, if you wait for their Luber to resolve and they add Branded Lost, then your Imperm's just kind of dead. So I want to say, like, the Luber. But it's also dicey because they could have the Fusion Deployment to summon out the Cartesia, and then you can't even Imperm. So,
I think
it's probably good.
In the Beware of Cart.
Yeah, Cartesia. But you could use it on your turn on Mirror Jade. Gets a little bit of value, but, yeah. It's not, like, super good by any means, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's put it like that. All right, Aluber, and I'll just put this on like, I'll just say MJ, Mirror Jade. Okay, that's very fair. Gamma, kind of the same category. For this matchup, Monster Negation is, they all feel the same whether or not you negate the activation or not.
Yeah, I like it. They can obviously chain block with Lubellion, so it's kind of unfortunate. It's probably good to use it on like an Aluber, but one thing you can experiment with is using it on the Lubellion in the graveyard, potentially in the end phase, so they can't set the branded expulsion to Gimmick Puppet lock you.
Oh,
so if you see they're going for the Gimmick Puppet lock, that's something that you could potentially experiment with, is just holding Gamma and then using it on the Lubellion in the end phase, so they can't set the expulsion, and then you're free from the Gimmick Puppet lock. So
that is a very big thing. I mean, the branded Gimmick Puppet lock is one of the meanest things. It makes your next turn super defensive. I've been experienced, because guys, you already know I'm playing Cashier a lot, and eating this play, the only thing that I would like to have if I have to eat this is like I want Change of Heart, I want enemy controllers, I want like Book of Eclipses for the next turn, just so that I can play, so that I don't die. And if I don't die, I can maybe get a chance to make a comeback. But you know what? It actually sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. I'll give it a check for now. Draw Unlock versus branded. This one's actually hit or miss. It's like if they go branded opening in the draw phase, you're just never gonna get there. And that's kind of the end of it. I'm actually gonna put it bad because you're just really taking that gamble. And if their first search is summon out like Aluber, they already have the branded fusion. Just sure, they don't get to grab like the Albion into the hand, but they still got to the fusion board, and you're holding a Drawn Logbird, which is technically a -1 for you now because you don't do anything with it. Lancia versus this matchup.
I don't think it's great. I mean, are there any use cases for it besides hitting Lubellion?
I think the only case for that, like an Albion banish, maybe. If you really want to stop them from like prevent them from protecting their cards with branded opening, maybe because they can't banish. But outside of that, and maybe stop I don't even know. They don't even play Serenir anymore. They might stop Serenir, but that's really it. So I'm gonna say it's really kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
Ghost Bell. The Ghost Bell is actually pretty good. I mean, you got hit branded red, branded expulsion. Expulsion only in the case that both cards are, one of the cards are still in the graveyard. Okay, so
right.
But
I guess it can play around sometimes, but it's 9 times out of 10.
It's a card, and this is the reason, and this is one of the few cards that can stop the, branded expulsion. The red.
Although you do have to be aware if they have lost on the table, it's not going to do anything. So
yeah.
Don't go when they have lost, because you cannot negate the activation of fusion spells and traps.
Yep. And Ghost Bell does negate the activation of cards. And I think these key little negation wording is very important for people to know. Before we continue, we're going to take a quick little break and redirect your attention to MSTmerch.com. If you guys need card game essentials from tournament level sleeves from our Carbon series, the whites and the blacks are really cool, or if you want some premium foil sleeves from the Diamond series to the Willpower series, we got you covered. And if you want to protect all your cards and your sleeves, we also have over sleeves for you. So check it out, MSTmerch.com, from mats, box dividers, to even the NFT sleeves if you want to go in that direction. Check out MSTmerch.com and let's continue. Next, right. Labyrinth. I'll start things off. Yeah, Ash is very good. But it does feel like sometimes it's just not enough because they have both big welcome and welcome, and you're taking a bit of a gamble. Which one would you prefer to negate? Big welcome or regular welcome?
I think the regular welcome. I like holding it for that. The thing with big welcome, a lot of times, sometimes in standby phase, they go like big welcome, and you have the Ash. What you can do is say okay, and then they might chain the welcome Labyrinth to get that value. So they get like the search, and then they get the effect of the level 4, the Ariana. Yep. So they get like the draw of the special. So I think holding it as well is really good. Whereas big welcome, it just searches like the one monster and they bounce it in hand. It's like, okay, I still have my Ash Blossom for, the actual welcome.
That's fair. Imperm versus them. I think Imperm is one of the weaker choices in general because skill drain gets flipped up, this card becomes dead. It's actually not that great. Maybe you could use it against, like, if you have to use it, you get to use it against the Ariana, and really that's really
can't even target the level 8 when they have face down sets. So
yeah, it's really only for Ariana at a very specific interaction. Gamma. Oh, this one's a bit more interesting.
I want to say like almost conditional as well, because like you kind of have to wait for the right moment to use it. It doesn't really. It's nice though that you can use it in response to level 8, but then it cannot be destroyed. I think when they have set cards as well, so it doesn't destroy. It just kind of negates.
Wait, but if they activate in the hand, you can.
In the hand, that one you can.
In the hand, it's good. It's good. Okay.
For sure, yeah. So I guess in the hand for the Ariana or the giant rock guy. The Lord of the
Oh yeah, that guy. I think it is a very strong card. I mean, getting another free card straight from the deck, and typically in a sided matchup, they might put up stuff like Imperial Iron War because they get to keep it. Don't forget, the Rock, they have to get rid of that card during the next end phase. Like, a lot of people kind of forget about that. Like, it doesn't get, they don't get to keep it. It's not a card that you keep forever. They have to try their best to actually activate it. So this is Hand Lady. Joel and Lockbird. I don't think their searches are consecutive enough, and they do a lot of direct setting.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably can't hit anything.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Giving them a free -1.
Lancia. It only has one interaction. It's just preventing. It's like you shotgun this so that they can't big welcome to bounce your card. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
really the only.
That's it.
Is that the only?
Yeah, I think that's.
And they don't have like a level 8. Is that the only time?
Yeah, let's just put this here. Ghost Bell. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't realize that Big Welcome summons from the graveyard.
Yeah, I like this card. You stop Big Welcome, which is like one of the a big deal for them to get their engine rolling. So I quite like it.
Yeah, it's a pretty important thing. I think Ghost Bell's actually not that bad for this matchup.
I would set it in, yeah.
I would put it in because it does stop Big Welcome, and having Big Welcome is like a very, like, it will snowball them pretty hard once one of them land, and like you basically have to, stop them by shoving a stick in their wheel so that they trip over their own play. Like that's why even if they ever get out Lady, and right now I mean that Kaiju's. I will tribute over that lady 100% because if that lady starts getting free cards out of the deck, it's awful. And that lady is like way too big for anyone's business. She's like huge and like very difficult to fight. But anyways, yeah, this seems like a pretty good lineup for that matchup. Okay, so next we have Runic Naturia. This deck has been picking up a lot of steam. Like, it's getting very, very popular, and it's also very scary.
Like drawing 3 for some reason.
Drawing 3 and being able to negate everything. The boards that they build are pretty ridiculous. They seem so small. The engine is, 7 monsters, or 8 if they decide to play the Stink Bug because they want the battle protection. But it's really just 7 Naturia monsters and a bunch of Runic cards.
Yeah, The deck seems innocuous, but then they come with a bunch of cards in hand. All of a sudden, they have 7 in hand after drawing, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, those boards are pretty ridiculous too. You got a Baron plus Naturia Beast plus the Sunflower and the Camilla on board, and if there's a Mole Cricket in the graveyard, now you're feeling like, man, anything I do, they just like get free monsters every day.
Yeah, everything's hidden.
When it comes to this deck, Ash Blossom. I mean, it's a necessity. It's a necessity. It's like not the best card, but it's 100% necessary. Here's like a big question: what do you hit in this deck? I mean, sure, we all know, there's Runic Fountain, but here's the thing. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Runic Fountain is not the easiest card to hit in this particular matchup, due to the fact there's so many chain blocks involved when it comes to the Fountain. So what do you hit if you can't hit the Fountain?
Seen a lot of people hit like the Hugin just to add the Fountain, but after playing the deck a little bit, I realized that they don't always have access to like Naturia or Runic. They sometimes only have one or the other. So when they go like you can discard Tree, I sometimes just like use it on Tree instead. Because if they don't get access to the Naturia engine, that means they're not going to be really playing. Sure, they can draw a Fountain, but like it's not going to be impactful when they're not getting to like Baron or Naturia Beast or Mole Cricket in the grave, right? So I don't know. I think guys out there, you definitely should test trying to hit the Tree, see if you can hit the Naturia engine.
So I'll share my little tidbit. When Sam was visiting me, since he was playing Naturia Runic, we actually played till like 5 in the morning. I don't know why, but we did. But he gave me the tip is that if they ever summon a Camilla and it doesn't seem like there's that much committed, you should probably just hit the Camilla once it gets to like simplified enough game state, because they're throwing the Tree in there, and once they get that Tree in there, you're going to lose. There's just too much, and sometimes they're not even just they're not throwing Tree in the grave. They're just putting Mole Cricket into the graveyard, and then they're passing turn hoping that you would summon, and if you summon a card, they just start snowballing. In that case, and the double negate on Sunflower is just ridiculously strong. Imperm. Kind of the same deal here.
Yeah,
you're hitting the same. You're not hitting Sacred Tree, but you're definitely hitting Camilla. And don't hit Mole Cricket. It's a quick effect.
Yeah, no, it's a quick effect.
Wait,
tributes.
Unless it's a main. It's a main phase effect.
Main phase only.
So if you stand by, you can hit the Mole Cricket.
Yes.
There we go.
Only Naturia Beast or Baron, which is nice. It can be drawn as a 6th card, and it comes in handy. So. Yeah,
Beast, Baron. It's a really good trade, and even like Mole. Put a star in here because you have to make sure you got the right timing. You get the wrong timing, you're screwed. You get the wrong time. Gamma. I think Gamma's pretty good. If the previous ones are good, Gamma is 100% also pretty good. Also turns off like Beast. Makes a bait play with Baron as well if it's impactful enough.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you get 2 bodies on board. That's always a plus.
Draw and Lockbird. Okay, I think this one's they draw too much. You know what?
Yeah, it's quite good. It shuts off. You're not drawing 3, but they can also play around it in draw phase. So like Hugin, effect in draw phase, Runic to summon Hugin discards in draw phase.
But then but if you're able to stop all the Sacred Trees from following up, that's actually really huge. So, I mean, I think either or, one of the engines are getting shut down.
Yeah, they're not drawing 3, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, okay, that sounds pretty good to me. Artifact Lancia. This one is a bit of a weird one because under Lancia they can't activate most of the Runic cards. That's
true. But then they still have the Naturia card.
But the question is, which turn is this on? Naturia, like Artifact Lancia, only works on the opposing turn.
It'd be better on your turn for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a little bit of a trap.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's worded poorly. Just put it that way. It's worded poorly, not to your advantage. Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell can also stop the Runic Fountain because Runic Fountain has to put cards back. And you also stopped another really big card.
Blessing.
Yeah, Blessing. You stopped Blessing on that one as well. Yes. So there are interaction. Let's.
Yeah, and stopping Fountain can be really crucial. Like on your turn, sometimes they're really banking on that Fountain to draw them like 2 or 3 cards. They only have like a couple of cards in hand, so stopping that even on your turn, so you don't get like hand trapped or anything, it's just like really, really plus.
Oh, absolutely. All right, this chart's looking pretty good, guys. If you guys are enjoying this, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and don't forget to check out Squiddy's channel. Link is in the description, also in the top comment. Okay, last one down here. I know you guys are going to type in the comments, oh, what about this other matchup? We're covering the best matchups that you guys need to worry about, and If you guys want to see more, then you guys gotta hit that subscribe button. But we're gonna give you guys the most popular matchups right now, the ones that have seen the most amount of success. So next we got sprites. This is my last format deck. Really strong stuff, and they've been making a comeback. I mean, they were really dead post ban list. Like, no one played them.
I thought they were gonna be dead, like with no elf. I was like, "Where's the follow up?" But no, they're still making boards somehow. Like, you know,
they
five negates.
And they like, I feel like every deck has their own version of like a floodgate monster, and theirs is the turtle. I don't know how they're summoning it. I've been seeing it in people's deck list. The Tetsudo Era Newman or whatever.
Right. And you cannot special summon 1800 attack or higher, I believe, right?
Yes, that one, and that's actually pretty huge. Because a lot of decks, except for maybe Naturia, all these other decks got a bit of a problem with that. I mean, it really cripples Kashtira completely when on the first summon. Branded can't fuse. Labyrinth can't get the lady out. there's quite a few problems.
Water statue.
I just don't understand how they bring it out. But when it comes to like Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, there's a lot of places to hit, but I think this card is actually pretty mediocre for this matchup.
Yeah, you definitely need another card to pair with. Like, generally, I think the best thing you can hit is just like a starter.
Yep.
Or maybe like a pot for 6, but like ideally probably starter. And I know some people are playing E-Tele now for Gamma as well, so it's like you have like 3 points interaction. You have the normal summon, the starter, and the E-Tele, so it kind of makes Ash a little worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't really pick up all the boxes.
Yep. Absolutely. But, you know, if you have Ash to force out like the red negation, that's really good. Or if you can land the Ash on the Gigantic, which 90% of the time I can say you probably won't, because their first couple of interaction, if they start with the Gigantic with nothing, then yeah, just throw it, because a lot of this stuff is very conditional on if they have the card that they need right away. If they open with a red, then your Ash is there to bait out one card. Can you follow up with a second card? But the problem is you can't even drop a Nibiru on them, because if they land their second or fourth summon as Gigantic Sprite and they activate the effect, you're locked out into level 2s as well with them. So
yeah, you know, they're playing around a lot of hand traps. Another thing I guess you can kind of hit is the Angler in the Grave. If they send it off Sprint, like as their first action.
Yes, that is major value.
Yeah, that's a lot of value. It just stops their plays. I know some people are playing like the Melfi Sprite variant, so hitting, what is it, Caddy? The one that summons in the end phase, and then on your turn, it can bounce itself to your hand and then add a beast monster. So that effect is all one effect, so you can actually Ash that if you draw it as your 6th card.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a major value right there. Imperm. Now, Imperm, I would say, is a lot stronger compared to Ash, because a lot of people don't really put up Carrot as their first option. However, Carrot has been a lot more popular because of cards like Evenly Match, and they just don't want to lose their board to Evenly Match, since everyone in their mom's main deck Evenly Match to clear out the diverse matchup that we have right now. It almost feels like the turn 1. I kind of want to throw this in there, where in the turn 1 right now, turn 1, turn 2, it's about surviving the blowout cards. And not getting not really just losing to those cards right now, you know? Like, you overcommit to the board, boom, all of a sudden you have nothing left. But if you can get past it, then you actually start to play interactive Yu-Gi-Oh! After that point.
Getting past that, you know, looking at your opponent's 5 cards in hand, like, oh. What do they have?
But this one is pretty decent if you can hit Gigantic or even Sprint.
Sprint is a good one, yeah, if they don't have so they don't get 2 beasts, so they can't make Melfi XYZ.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These are probably the better points to hit. Of course, I'm going to assume you guys are smart and know about simplified game state. Obviously, trade with them if it's a simplified game state, because, you know, never let anyone advance out of those game states. Gamma is also pretty good. Also with the Destruction as well, kind of in the same category, but also faces off the similar problem with... it's not as bad as Ash, because one Gamma can activate twice in the same turn, as long as it's not in the same chain. So that's why it's a bit better, because if you force them and they see the Gamma, they're gonna realize how awkward it is to follow up with that, because if they waste their red to protect like a Gigantic Sprite, well, if they use Gigantic Sprite, you're screwed, because you're locked out of Gamma. Just remember that. It's good. Just
you gotta do before they do that.
Before Gigantic is the condition.
Yeah.
Almost like, you know, trapped myself there, but before Gigantic.
Yep, I've only made that mistake once. I think it was like a Gamma or a Nibiru. I looked at my hand and they already resolved Gigantic, and I'm like, oops.
It's a pretty common mistake. Even in the last format, like Bestial cards, like people try to when you're holding a Bestial card, you feel pretty safe in the battle phase. You're like, oh, in the battle phase, I'll just drop like a Bestial, but and then they point to the Gigantic sprite on the table, like, oh right. I am dead. I should have done this like right before. Like there's a lot of the stronger players, once they see the Gigantic sprite activate and they think they're not going to live, they're going to chain every possible card in their hand to just create walls. That's just how it is.
Yeah, get everything on board.
Drawn Lockbird. Is this card a bit of a trap here? Is it like really good or is it really bad? Do they search enough? I mean, they have a bunch of searches, but
yeah, I want to say it's conditional. It definitely depends what they do. If they're doing like a Pot of Prosperity as their first action or something, or like they go blue and they add Jet and you go Droll, you get some value there. You're basically valoring the Jet more or less, right? Because they can special summon Jet, but then they're not getting the search. So
I'd say it's still pretty good. Good enough to. I would say still it's within the green. I mean, not giving them a Jet is pretty solid.
Yeah, or vice versa, or the blue. It depends on what they do, but yeah, it can be very good caught off guard, because it could just stop a lot of their plays. Actually, it stops some Melfi combo as well, because they're not able to add with the XYZ, so it could be, I think the green arrow is probably good. They make a weaker board that's somewhat manageable, hopefully, by the rest of the 4 cards in your hand, plus your draw.
Okay, yeah, sounds pretty good. Artifact Lancia, I think this card is kind of bad. I'm like, smashers, but like smashers on their turn, but then they're already winning. If they're smashing on their turn, they're already winning. So
just chain smashers or whatever. It only stops like prosperity, I think. Right?
And maybe evenly matched if you're choosing to counter side.
Maybe the XYZ, the 1900 one.
No, I don't think there's enough value here for this.
Not.
It's not like bad where it's like absolute zero, but like I don't think there's very much. Ghost Spell was a lot better. Now it doesn't feel so great. I mean, you stop Beaver,
Double Cross,
Nimble Beaver. Do you which one? Oh, Double Cross. Only if they choose to summon, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. There's other modes as well, so it's not like you're always guaranteed value. So I don't think it's that good.
It's pretty mediocre. I mean, back when there was Sprite Elf, and it was like, oh, 100%, you should play this. It's 100% one point of interaction, but now there isn't. Well, this is really insightful. This is like a lot of the points. I would actually make a couple of mistakes here and there after hearing some of the opinions where you would hit certain cards. But damn, the one thing I didn't expect is that Gamma is actually super strong. I know that there's a lot of people not playing Gamma right now, and this could actually incentivize them to actually playing Gamma again.
Yeah, could be a blowout for sure.
But based off of what we've seen so far in this, our matchups are pretty combo and board building heavy. The only one not being is that there's Labyrinth here, but we're mainly focusing on hand trap cards, hand trap based disruptions here. But of course, you can see that most of it's really catered towards killing Kashtira for the most part, or stunning out Branded.
Yeah, go figure.
Because they are the defining parts of the format. Funny enough, like Naturia Runic, they do get hit by a lot of things, but the thing about them to know, like, oh, there's so many green arrows here, is that they are the deck that probably can follow up the hardest in comparison to all the other cards, which is why even though things work, it's not a guaranteed thing that it's going to do really, really well against them. But
yeah, their cards snowball, so it's just like it's unpredictable. They could draw 3 cards, and all of a sudden you're losing.
Yeah, like you could have thrown an Ash, and it still wouldn't have been enough. But that is all we got for this first episode of Ultimate Counter Guide for April and March 2023. Chansey, thanks for coming on. Of course, guys, there's gonna be part 2 and part 3 as well. Maybe part 2 and 3. Maybe it's gonna be one part because going second cards, most of us will probably just gun right through. But make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. And don't forget to comment. If you guys have more interesting interactions, I would love to hear about it. Leave it down in the comment section. Enlighten us with your big brain knowledge. And don't forget to check out Chansey at Squiddy. Calling you Chansey because I've known you as Chansey, but Squiddy, don't forget to check out his channel down in the description. And thank you for your insight, and don't forget to like, subscribe, ding notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.